Okay, time for another frenetic edition of 5 Minutes at the Frat House here on, hey, it's Flag Day 2012, with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. And I kind of feel like we've got a lot of kind of concluding thoughts this evening, Sidekick. Starting off with our congrats to the Los Angeles Kings, who on Monday night, well, they completed their run of the Stanley Cup Finals and the entire playoffs to capture their first Stanley Cup in the franchise's history in 45 years. They beat the New Jersey Devils in Game 6, 6-1, and became the first number 8 seed to win the Stanley Cup in the history of the NHL. And really, when you take a look at it and you watch that game, the entire game turned in that first period on that major penalty against Devils' Stephen Brodeur, who was called for boarding Rob Scuderi and ejected from the game. Yep. That gave the Kings an unwashable 5-minute major penalty, in which case they scored 3 times in the first period against Marty Brodeur and never looked back. Later on Facebook, I asked the question whether, in fact, 40-year-old Brodeur, you know, is he going to be retiring this year? You know, would he consider retiring it now that, you know, here they were, you know, he had won a cup. But, you know, and apparently it was reported just the other day that, in fact, Brodeur plans on returning for at least 1 more year next year. So, we'll see how that goes. But congratulations go out to the LA Kings. I guess you're living high and mighty. And mighty.
Just a little.
Well, I'm psychic, you know.
Our second concluding story has to revolve around that WBO welterweight fight that took place in Las Vegas between Timothy Bradley and Manny Pacquiao last Saturday night. Now, I gotta admit, I'm not much of a boxing fan, but there's no way that you can't get at least a little bit intrigued and garner at least a little bit of interest, particularly coming out of all the controversy over the decision on this whole thing. On the surface, and here's where and we were talking about this at length before the show, but on the surface it appears there really shouldn't be any kind of controversy at all. There shouldn't be any alarm. 2 judges, C.J. Ross and Dwayne Ford, scored the bout 115-113 in favor of Bradley, while one judge, Jerry Roth, scored it the reverse, 115-113 for Pacquiao. Now, that seems negligible and perhaps a bit benign. You know, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is, you know, apparently anybody that watched the fight saw that, you know, and media sources that were at the fight, that were scoring the fight, all scored it in Pacquiao's favor.
Right.
And why these 2 judges thought it was Bradley's fight, you know, I didn't get to see the fight, but, you know, it was clearly Pacquiao's fight. And it's kind of a shame because it's a black guy. The one, I think, the one respectable champion that they have, in Pacquiao, and now, now they've gone and done this, which is just another black eye for the boxing organization. You know, Pacquiao's been undefeated the last 7 years. He's 15 straight fights, and that, you know, they've got an independent organization that does the punch counts.
Right.
You know, Pacquiao, you know, they're saying landed 253 punches to Bradley's 159. You know, Bradley hurt both of his ankles in the mat. You know,
and you start to say to yourself, I start to say to myself, well, it looks like collusion amongst all 3 judges. You know, I mean, this is leading to all kinds of possibilities as far. I mean, WBO apparently is called for their own investigation. I mean, we got everybody calling for an investigation on this all the way up to Congress, which, don't get me started on that one. But the whole thing doesn't smell right, I guess, is where it comes down to at this point. And I don't know if the outcome is going to be any good for boxing, period. I just don't know.
We were talking.
You know, that kind of leads us to our Facebook post of the week. And it revolves around this story, and it revolves around a post that, in fact, you put up. And you said, anybody catch this sham of a fight this past weekend? Is boxing done in the U.S.? To which our MMA buddy Lee responded back, boxing has been dying quickly. Pac-Man is the only one that gave it relevance. And this decision just puts a nail in the coffin. overall, I could care less. Boxing is so one-dimensional and boring compared to MMA. So, we've been seeing a diminution of that entire sport for, I think, to me, it feels like at least the past decade.
Right.
And
see,
I don't think any of these investigations are going to bode well.
And see, my reply to Lee was, I think that MMA and UFC has some part to play in the demise or the downfall of boxing, because a lot of boxers are now going into MMA and trying to, because that's what's hot, right?
Right. Yeah. Well.
So.
Also, though, I mean, you're talking about, which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
It seems to me boxing was in its demise, which led to potentially the creation of those other sports. So really, which came first? It might have been that boxing was on its way down anyhow. Our final concluding story takes us out to Belmont Park, where the story really began last Friday morning, when it was announced that, in fact, I'll Have Another would not run. And in fact, not only would I'll Have Another not run, they retired him almost immediately. Tendinitis apparently was the issue, and there, a lot of us were just, the wind was just taken completely out of our sails.
That sucks to be you right now.
Well, yeah, it kind of did.
Not really, because he's sitting in a pasture with a whole lot of mares.
Well, for him, but
I'm not.
I was a little bit disappointed, despite the fact I predicted last week that I did not think that he would win.
Well, I didn't either.
I didn't think he would win a Triple Crown. I wanted to see the prospect of that possibility. And to have that taken away from us on Friday morning was very, very disappointing. I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
Well, that's what the excitement of it was.
Exactly.
Was whether you believed he was going to win or not, it was just the fact that it could happen.
It could. You don't know.
And that was polarizing enough for everybody to be like,
absolutely.
Are we going to,
But even with the absence, and I'll say this, even with the absence of a potential Triple Crown winner, Union Rags, who was the favorite in the Kentucky Derby, man, what a battle he put on with Paynter, right up to a photo finish. Union Rags was behind by 5 horses at mid-race and actually came up to win that one by a neck. He ran that mile and a half in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Fabulous, fabulous race by Union Rags. And I was a little bit excited actually standing and watching it, although it would have been nice to have seen I'll Have Another in there.
I even heard that Paynter threw a shoe during the race.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know. All right, since we're on racing, let's see how things went up at the tricky triangle of Pocono Raceway last weekend. This monster 2.5-mile track was recently just resurfaced. And in practices and qualifying, we had drivers running through turns at over 200 miles an hour. Joey Logano, he qualified as the fastest, hitting nearly 180 miles per hour and qualified for the pole position last Sunday. And for the first time in 31 races, NASCAR, 31 races in the Sprint Cup.
It sucks to be you right now.
A driver won the race after qualifying
It sucks to be you right now.
Jody Logano outran him, leading 48 of Pocono's 160 laps and crossed the finish line just ahead of Mark Martin. This was Logano's first win of the season, only a second of his entire career. Now, others who came in the top 5, as I mentioned. Mark Martin came in 2nd. Tony Stewart came in 3rd.
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson came in 4th. And he got his 7th, I guess that's his 7th top 5 win. Denny Hamlin came in 5th. So where are we this weekend? Hey, we're over at another big track, and that's Michigan International Speedway. And that'll be covered on TNT this Sunday beginning at 12 noon. You got some info on that track?
Yep, it's a 2-mile track that allows some fast racing, so we should have some excitement.
We're looking at the same kind of
wide corners for side-by-side racing. When they were doing the tire test after it was recently repaved,
resurfaced, just like Pocono.
Jeff Gordon was doing 215, and they're hitting 180 in the corners.
Yeah.
And that was just during tire testing.
We'll go over and take a look at our Sprint Cup leaderboard. We've been waiting for changes. We've got some changes, huh? There you go. For the first time since week 1, we have a new number 1. Matt Kenseth takes over Greg Biffle's spot and currently has 523 points. Dale Jr. moves into number 2 with 513. Craig Biffle, there he is. He drops all the way down to third. Let's see, just 3 points behind in the fourth spot is Denny Hamlin. Winningest driver in the past 5 weeks. Jimmy Johnson in that number 5 spot with 493 points. That's our NASCAR wrap for this week. Hey, let's chat up some baseball. And before we get to our list of improbables for the week, we got to kind of recognize what Matt Cain did last night in San Francisco. Now, I suppose we could actually list this as an improbable if we wanted to, but really, it's Matt Cain. I don't know if it's all that improbable, really. Matt Cain and the Giants rolled over the Houston Astros last night 10-0. Along the way, though, Cain managed to strike out 14 and secured the Giants' first perfect game in their history. Cain's 14 strikeouts tied Sandy Koufax's effort in his own perfect game in 1965. Now, Cain, you might remember, made some news in the offseason by getting a 6-year extension to his contract worth $127.5 million. Currently, Cain is 8-2 with a 2.18 ERA and 96 Ks in 95 innings pitched. So I guess he's living up to the money. That was what the question was. Is this guy going to live up to the money? Congratulations to Matt Cain. Well, I guess he lives up to the money. He's an automatic Hall of Famer, I think, now. Now, let's go over our improbables. And we've got some classic improbables for Week 10 Sidekick. Starting off with this, Jim. Last Thursday night, there was a classic pitching matchup between the New York Mets and the Washington Nationals. And it got quite a bit of media attention. And in fact, I was even a bit surprised at the number of headlines that it got, particularly after the pitching duel. See, last Thursday, the Mets ran out R.A. Dickey, while the Nationals countered with Chien-Ming Wang. And the next day, many, many newspapers all over America were running the headline, Dickey beats Wang.
Oh, no!
But in one of the many articles, this is classic, Wang wasn't quite as hard on opposing hitters.
Do we have the oh no yet? Okay. Could we have brought up Bryce Harper again this week? I think we could have. I think we actually could have. I mean, he hit his 7th home run just the other evening. He's 3rd on the team in that department. But instead, we decided to give Harper a break. And we decided to chat it up with the Cardinals' 3rd baseman, David Freese, who last Thursday night, are we ready, hit 2 home runs, one of them a grand slam, and had himself 6 RBIs over the Astros. Freese is now 8th. He's 8th in the NL in RBIs with 40. Hey, and we're still only in the early part of June. That's pretty good. As Yogi Berra said, this one is like deja vu all over again, huh? Fans were served up a Seattle Mariners combined no-hitter last Friday night against MLB's best team, that's the LA Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. When I say combined, it took not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. Oh heck, I'll save that for the NBA update. Truly, it took 4. It took 6. It took 6 pitchers to secure that no-hitter. But here we go again. Was it? Was it really a no-hitter? Dodger D. Gordon claimed to be the fastest player in the NL. Led off the bottom of the 9th with a broken bat flare to Seattle shortstop Brendan Ryan. Ryan made a strong throw to first and got the out call. However, replay clearly showed that Gordon would have been safe. Now, no replay is currently used in these circumstances. Thus, the no-hitter was preserved on the out call. And I won't not ask you your opinion on that. We got that one last week. You know, sometimes I think it's kind of neat when these teams wear their replica jerseys from the days gone by. I love it, particularly the really old teams, you know. And it's really cool to see what the old jerseys look like and what the hats look like and all. So I think it's going to be really neat when the Tampa Bay Rays later this season roll out their throwbacks from 1979. Oh, wait a minute. Tampa Bay Rays. They weren't around in 1979. They've only been around since 1998. The Rays are planning on wearing what they're calling throwback uniforms in a 1970 style of what they think they might have looked like. That's
a violation.
That's violation.
Apparently it's some sort of 70s themed night.
Yeah, there we go.
They're playing the Tigers, who are going to be in their throwback jerseys.
And they're going to have all the players up there with the afro hair.
And after, the fans are going to be treated to a concert by Earth, Wind, and Fire after the game.
Actually, that would be good. This is bad. Okay. You want to talk to us a little bit about those Angels and that Irvin Santana? Huh? How about that?
Yeah. Irvin Santana. He's 0-4 on his first 4 starts.
With the Angels, right?
With the Angels. He's the first Angels pitcher since Don Sutton. You remember Don Sutton, don't you? 1986?
I do.
To give multiple home runs in his first 4 outings. He's also given up more home runs in the other night in the 5 innings he pitched than any of the Angels have hit home runs.
Extrapolated currently over the season, Santana will give up 46 home runs on the season. That would be 3rd all time on the most home runs surrendered by a pitcher, just behind Jose Lima and tied with Bronson Arroyo and Brett Bielema.
That's almost
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that's
almost as many as Albert Pujols hits for the Cardinals when he played for them.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Not bitter about that, are we now?
All right. So where are the leagues standing at this point? There's only one change.
Should we ring the bell?
No, not for these guys. We're not ringing the bell for these guys. There's only one change this week, and that's in the AL, and that's in the East, where at the moment we got the Yankees leading the division, and they now have the best record in the AL. They've taken over the lead from the Texas Rangers for the best record in the AL.
But you know, it's the Yankees. You kind of had it. We couldn't expect.
Well, you might have. I didn't.
I didn't think they were going to be in the basement the whole season.
Let's hope so. They're the Chicago White Sox, and the Central and Texas Rangers are still leading in the West. In the National League, you got the Washington Nationals. Continue to lead in the East.
Those Nats just won't go away.
The Cincinnati Reds control the Central, and the Dodgers continue to have the best record in Major League Baseball and continue to dominate in the West. Interestingly, one of the things I was looking at today when looking at these standings, Sidekick, is when you look at them, and you look at the AL and the NL side by side, and you look at the best teams in all 3 divisions on both sides. At this moment anyhow, it seems somewhat obvious that the NL is a bit stronger than the AL this year. National League looks a bit stronger. You got 2 teams in there in the NL that have much better records than your teams over in the AL. So, interesting to see where things go as we progress. NBA playoffs. Well, we're into the finals now, and I think everyone's anticipating a rather interesting setup here. We've got the debates going on over there. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, who's the better player, at this particular time. Oklahoma City Thunder have home court advantage. Format has changed in the playoffs for the finals. It is a 2-3-2 format. So we got the first 2 in Oklahoma. We got the last 2 in Oklahoma City. Middle 3 are in Miami. OKC took advantage of their home court advantage on Tuesday night in Game 1. I gotta be honest, I almost chalked them off at halftime. OKC went into the locker room down 7 points, and the Heat looked pretty impressive in the first half. However, the Heat were outscored by 10 points in the fourth quarter, 17 by Durant alone in the fourth, to win Game 1, 105-94. We've got Game 2 tonight on 9 o'clock on ABC. And as we head out for the evening, hey, I got to remind you, won't you take some time, go over and check out our friends over at the new social media website. We introduced them last week. They just started up in March. This is great. It's a site exclusively for sports fans. That's it. Nothing else. All right? We're not talking anything else. Fan Junkies. FanJunkies.net. All right? And like I said in a post the other night, I said, this is a great site. There are no farm games, no personal dramas. We're not getting status messages about pets.
Nobody's
right?
baby picture.
Yeah, really. 24/7, we are looking at sports, and that's it. And all of us here at the Frat House have already joined in, and we've already been posting for a little while, and it's been a lot of fun. And like we said too last week, it looks and acts just like the old Facebook. So check it out, and hopefully we'll bump into you over there. Make sure you friend us, right? All right. We're coming up on, we got the middle of June here, and we're going to be going into the third week of June next week, so you got to check us out next week. All right? Keep us real, keep us live, keep us going. See you then.
For the first time in their 45-year history, a Stanley Cup for Los Angeles. The